Welcome to another episode of SightCall Sessions. My name is Pete Humes. I am head of content here at SightCall. SightCall is a global software company dedicated to helping enterprise organizations improve their customer service and field service experiences and solve problems faster and more efficiently with remote visual support. My guest today is Kathy Sobus. Kathy has over 30 years in the IT business with many organizations across various industries. She is a much sought after authority in AI, collaboration, customer experience, and security. And recently, she's taken her passion for CX innovation, technology, and business growth to launch her own business transformation strategy company, Sobus Consulting. So, Kathy, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
So I thought we'd start off a little bit talking about those years that you've had in the IT industry.
Yeah, so I have been in the business for over 30 years. I spent a bulk of that time at Avaya in different roles. I was head of a global group that carried tier two practical technical expertise to our customers and to our business partners. And I also architected Avaya Learning in a way that there was a certification process and goals that you could achieve at the end of that process too. So I've been in contact centers and customer experience for so long that level of expertise and working with various groups, including R&D at Avaya, and I'm happy to say I have over 13 patents to my name as well. And then I decided to leave Avaya after being there for several years and a great experience that I had there and go into broadening my wings and not working for a specific vendor. So I worked for systems integrators. And for the last 10 years, I've been at Converge One as a result of that. And I really thought now at this part in my career, I had more to offer than that. And I've been doing consulting throughout my career and working with various companies, Fortune 100 and 500 organizations, and some smaller ones too, and really starting to develop what customer experience means for them. And so that's why I went into business, and I'm happy to say I'm part of Sobus Consulting.
What are some of the biggest changes you've seen, or maybe even a better question is what has not changed? Something that's consistent, because we talk about all this technology, but really ultimately it's two people talking to each other trying to solve a problem.
Well, yeah, really good question. So is it two people talking to each other trying to solve a problem, right? We can start there. So what has changed is the internet has taken off, right? If all of you are sitting there thinking the internet, my gosh, that's been around forever. Well, no, it really wasn't around in the way it is today, where you can buy and sell goods and get services yourself through the internet and through other capabilities too. So I think the biggest change is a thinking around that people don't just automatically pick up the phone and call into a company in order to do things, right? That they try and do them themselves somewhere. They try and self-serve somehow. They do all that due diligence about the companies they want to transact with before they've ever reached out to that organization. So for me, the biggest change is the customer journey and ensuring that businesses realize that that's happening, whether they want it to or not. It's still happening out there, and the very smart and successful organizations embrace that in a way that makes sense to their organization through cost efficiencies or productivity gains or cost benefits, right? They could be revenue generating now as well. So I think those are the biggest, that's the root of the biggest change. There's a lot of tech behind that too that's changed dramatically as well.
So I listened to, I think it was a webinar or a workshop you did where you talked about the high cost of impairment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an impairment for customer service agents. Can you explain what that means?
Sure.
Impairment and what it means to a company and in terms of how big a problem it is.
Yeah, it's funny that you started off by asking me what's changed and what hasn't changed, right? And I think that there are different ways of looking at our organizations now from a customer experience and contact center operations standpoint than there were before. And one of those items that's just been brought to my attention recently is this cost or this notion of agent impairment. There are some other metrics that I'll be talking about too. You'll probably hear me, and I'll be happy to come back and talk more on it. But agent impairment really are things that are beyond the agent's control. They're very system driven items and elements right now. So when an agent comes in and they log in for the day, just like you and I, when we walk through the door, we expect when we hit that light switch, we expect our lights to come on, right? Well, the agent logs in, they expect to have all of the tools that are available to them available. And can they log in? That's the question number one. Is there a problem with the system? Question number two, right? Question number three is, there these really little intermittent problems, and how they show up in a customer experience is by an agent saying, well, I'm really sorry, my systems are slow today. Can you hold on 1 second while I check? Right. And these cause delay both with the customer and their experience, but also with the agent and their experience too. So the agents are impaired because of the little weaknesses and breakages that happen. And the reason for my webinar and being ultra passionate about it, I'm an advisor for a company called Truium at this moment. And as such, I've gotten to really understand the technology, and the tech behind it allows us to see, can the agent connect to solution A, B, C, D, E, F, right? Can they connect, or are there intermittent breakages that are happening as well? And oftentimes what we find is that agents too are penalized if they go off hook and they pick up the phone and they call the help desk and they say, I'm having a problem. And with being remote, another big thing that's happened right over the last few years, but with being remote, they don't know that it's just them having a problem or if it's widespread, right? So they kind of get dinged on both ends. They don't want to pick up and call the help desk for nothing that they don't feel they can control. And they don't want to, it's just a bad situation all the way around. So that's what agent impairment is. It's all these parts or these breakage points that agents really don't have control over. Yeah. And they're trying to figure out how to do it better, right? And so that particular software package from Truium called True Experience allows them to really see where those breakpoints are and take action against them.
What's the trickiest part with some of these tools that are meant to help agents or meant to help contact centers? I mean, what's the big tripping point for companies in terms of like finding them or adopting them? Because I know the day to day, just you're overwhelmed to begin with.
And I think that's true for what you all do at SightCall as well. They're busy running their business, whatever that industry is. And I think a lot of times they put up with these issues or don't know that the enhancements are available to them out there. So they just stop looking or don't look, or it's just the awareness level isn't raised to a point where it makes sense for them. Right. Yeah. And so that's question number one. Are they even aware?
Right.
Do they have the problem that this software solution will solve? Right. That's another question. And then thirdly, will it work with everything else that they have in their environment?
Right.
And I think that, that's one thing that we do at Sobus Consulting is we work together with them to make sure that the products and solutions that they bring in, the technical pieces, will work well together. And we also take it to another level. We also talk about the process here. And does the process match the technology? Which I think is a lot of a breakdown that occurs in a lot of businesses when they go to adopt new technology. They go, wow, this is great. Our life's going to be wonderful. And they forget that their process probably hasn't changed as a result of that. Mm-hmm. So they're not sure. And then they don't get full benefit if they don't make modifications or changes or train, there's just so much behind bringing in and adopting new software packages.
Yeah, there's a big gap between the leadership looking at something and deciding it's going to work, passing it down the line, and then ultimately it's adoption of of the agents, or sometimes for us it's field technicians, or you can hand them a tool, but if it doesn't work the way they're used to it working, they're not going to use it.
Yeah. And then if they don't use it, I've heard, I've walked into clients before in the past, and if they don't use it, then what happens? Do they think it doesn't work?
Mm-hmm.
Do they feel like they've spent money that they're not getting benefit from? Right. So the adoption piece of tech is a really large piece that needs to be thought about.
Yeah. Is one of the most effective ways of making companies aware, showing them how it's costing them, doing the math and saying, look, you can save a minute here.
Absolutely. I've been a huge proponent of ROI for I don't know how long, right? Yeah. And there have been times when we've worked with companies, and you probably have seen this too, where you walk in and budgets are much more flexible than perhaps they are now. And a customer will say, "Wow, that's really cool. I want to buy that." For right now, and the way our economy is, I'm not seeing that happen. I'm seeing more of the hesitancy of I've got to do my due diligence. I need to work it through to my management team and make sure that they're comfortable that what we're going to do is going to bring change in a positive way to them and a financial gain as a result of that, whether that's through streamlining and cutting costs in one place, or whether that's accelerating costs and revenue generating pieces of their business too.
Yeah. So let's say you have a case with a client and you show them how doing X can save them this much money, and you want to take it through. What are some of the steps that you take them through in order to make that happen?
Yeah, at Sobus Consulting, what we do is work together with the customer to really understand what their environment is, and how bringing about technological changes and bringing in new software solutions into their environment will make or modify that change. It doesn't just stop there, though, right? You have to think about what the cost of bringing that in is. And there are a lot of costs involved. It's not just the software and the implementation costs, it's the ongoing cost of that software. It's also the cost of the organization. How many people do you have to put on this project to make this work? How long will they be, dedicated to this project or semi-dedicated to this project? And accounting for that total cost, that's when you start to get a true return on investment analysis. What does that investment look like on your part? Software, hardware, minutes, all of the things that are wrapped into AI, which I've been spending a lot of time on, right? Messages, minutes, that sort of thing, as opposed to maintenance and groups of people within an organization that have to run that software on a day-to-day basis. What do you do with them? Do you keep them, retain them? There's a lot of moving parts. So when you do an ROI, it's not just the cost of the software here, cost of the software there, benefit here, and there you're done. Mostly, it's a little bit more of a thoughtful discussion around what is that true return that you believe you're going to see as a result of making these changes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of making those changes, it seems like you're a big advocate of agent empowerment, or the agent experience being just as important as customer experience. I mean, one informs the other. You can't have a great customer experience if your agents are miserable and they're overworked and they don't have the tools to do what they need to do. What companies that are doing it right, what have you seen as far as companies doing it right when it comes to agent empowerment or support?
That's a great question. And I'm a believer that, as you mentioned, right, happy agents make happy customers. How can I help the agent do really well with their job, be very successful in their job so they stay, they gain more knowledge, they become more credible in their craft. And then when they're working with customers, there are better experiences as a result of that, right? It's a much more streamlined approach. And how do I enable them with software and technology that helps them do that? We're in a period of extreme change. So before COVID, I hate to say pre-COVID, post-COVID, but before COVID, if you had an agent leave, they left for two reasons. Number one, they went across the street and they got another job at another contact center and they made more money. That's number one. Number two, they stayed with the company and they just advanced in the company. So they were leaving the contact center, but they were still with the company. So the company still saw benefit as a result of that, right? Now what we're seeing is agents are not staying as agents anywhere, right? So they come in, they work with a company, they go through all that training, they've done the recruitment, hiring, training, and there's so much cost involved in that. And then they may make it through training and may make it through their first week on, being an agent, and then they quit. And then they're not an agent somewhere else. They leave that part of the business. They go on and do other things completely. Big change, right? So we're losing, I think, a little bit of the craft of being a successful customer experience representative,
Right.
however you want to call that, right? And it doesn't have to just be voice. It can be email or SMS or chat. It doesn't matter to me, right? It's all of those channels wrapped in together. But we're losing that craft of how do you work with people to make sure that they're satisfied and you're not giving away the farm at your company, right? You don't want to give everything away to a customer just because they're demanding it, unless they're a certain type of customer, and then you might want to. So I'm seeing this change. So when you ask me the question, it's a really good one. Like, who's doing this really well? I think I would categorize it, and I do have some customers in mind, I don't want to name them, of ones that have gone into a pod type concept where they know the customers that are contacting them. They know them. They know the area they're calling from. They've been schooled in that area. They know what's happening this weekend in the area so that they can actually establish some sort of a credible relationship with the customer while they're trying to solve their problem or sell them, whatever that situation may be. So I would, and I love this question because I think our experiences are becoming mediocre. And there's no like one company ringing the bell. Like we used to say, well, they're, XYZ company, they're the epitome, and let's go emulate them and let's go work, how can we benchmark ourselves against them? I think some of those are more like, how did the customer get the answer as quickly as they could somewhere? And are they transacting with me and are they satisfied with or without a human involved? So that really, some of the answers might be, well, XYZ company has a great self-service model that's proactive and personalized and, takes care before a customer really knows they need taken care of.
Yeah.
Really.
That's one of my favorite ways of looking at it with self-service, especially, is that it frees the agents to do the heavy lifting or the human work that comes after it. Like, we do a lot of work with pre-call information gathering where you can scan serial numbers or you can, fill out a form before you get on a call so that when you call, it's not Groundhog Day where it's just like, it's everything starting from scratch. Who are you? Why are you calling? What are you calling about? So a lot of that is trying to maximize the agent's ability to be a good person with another. Do you think some of that frustration is forcing companies to look at AI as a sort of miracle solution for that?
I think companies are looking to AI because the sheer volume of questions and inquiries and needs that are coming in outweighs the amount of people available to answer those questions and inquiries. That's my gut feel. Volumes haven't gone down. When I call somewhere and it says you're 10th in line, and I go, well, how long is it going to take the nine before me? I just don't even know, right? Or hey, we'll give you a call back. Okay, expect a call back after 30 minutes. Okay, right? And then you look at your watch. I mean, that's being kind and helpful to both parties when you start to do things like that and setting expectations properly.
Yeah.
But then I have also been like, I really need to talk to someone. And they said our wait times are longer than we want them to be. And then I've been disconnected.
Yeah.
I have to call in again and start over again, like highly frustrating.
Yeah.
So by the time in that situation, by the time I get to an agent, I'm like so frustrated and burned out as a human. I try not to take that out on the agent, but I'm sure I'm not alone, right?
Yeah.
The frustration builds. So anytime you can help, like what you were discussing there, Pete, right? In a pre-call situation, if you can get the customer to take pictures, fill out forms, streamline that interaction, and then inform the agent, which is what you're all doing,
Yeah.
right? Then when you get on the phone with the agent's already like, I see you have this problem, XYZ, let's fix it,
Yeah.
right? Let go here, go there, do this, do that. I can actually see where the issue is, what you're looking at, and what the response is from, technology, whatever you're looking at, right? So that is streamlined for sure. In other situations and other software, what that does is it actually takes care of the mundane, easy stuff, all that easy stuff where an agent would have what I call a breather because they're taking an easy question. They're not going to have that anymore.
Yeah.
So they're only going to get the tough questions.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important for us to make sure that we're preparing companies to realize the volume might change or shift, but the
Mhm.
talk time might increase. So you might actually need the same amount of agents as a result.
Yeah. There's a shift in what metrics are being paid more attention to, isn't there?
Yes, definitely first contact resolution. It's difficult to measure that, but it's an important calculation for us to take a look at. I think other companies are looking at more at lifetime value. That metric's been out there for a long, long time, but they just don't realize that brand loyalty extends beyond that person when they're super loyal.
Yeah.
It extends out to family, it extends out to friends, and it expands from there, right? And so just a good customer satisfaction metric is good.
Yeah.
I think Net Promoter Score came up because companies just wanted to give a quick feedback loop. And that was the easiest one, right? Here's one question. Can you answer one question for me? So
Yeah.
I think the response rates were greater as a result of just having a one question survey than having, multiple layers of survey.
Yeah.
After a while, you're just like, I give up. I don't care.
Yep.
So I hope metrics are changing. I still see a lot of companies using the same reporting structure or the same metrics that they were looking at before
Yeah.
and I really believe that they're just trying to run their day-to-day business.
Yeah.
So their more important metrics are around conversions and, resolution rates and that sort of thing than they are around oldest call waiting for abandon rates and the such. But they're still looking at those for
Yeah.
sure.
What's your favorite part about what you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. My favorite part is working with customers, truly. I know that sounds a little cliche, but it's really understanding their business and then recommending ways that I can increase it, enhance it, make
Mhm.
it better for them, and then seeing it through to, here's what I recommend, here's what I think we should do, here's your path forward, getting them on that path, which, we can plan till the end of time, but until you start to execute against a plan, it's really not helpful, right? And so seeing them go through and start to execute on that plan and see the benefits of it and getting them on that path, that's where I get my greatest joy.
Yeah.
So whether it's recommending technology, recommending processes, working with specific vendors that solve things that they weren't even aware existed,
Yeah.
right? Like we've talked about earlier. That's where that's where I just love it.
That's
Yep.
great.
Yep, for sure.
We're going to wrap up with the last question here, and we're
Okay.
going to put your future goggles on and think about, in terms of AI or in terms of future technology, where do you see the arc of contact centers going? Maybe in a few years. Things are moving really fast. So it's not even, doesn't even make sense to say 10, 20 years from now. We're talking 2, 3 years from now.
Yeah, if I sit back and really imagine it, what I see is a lot of AI that's available to customers and to the people that are answering the questions. That's base.
Yeah.
That's my base level. So I encourage people to really take a good look at artificial intelligence, whether it's natural language processing or whether it's some of the large language models or whether it has next gen AI in it, and really start to look at how they can embrace those pieces of technology. That's number one. Number two, so self-service is going to be bigger than what it is today. I think really the next piece of it is there are a lot of people inside of a company, an organization, that aren't listed as an agent, but still answer a lot of questions. And one of my biggest passions is how can I take this real beautifully rich set of software and expand it out greater into an organization in a way that makes sense for that company, right? So if you've got, some subject matter experts in B2B manufacturing pieces where you're calling the engineer all the time, that's an easy, like I can really see that.
Yeah.
If you've got different people that are working in case logs in healthcare, I take away that nomer of agent. Don't measure them the same way because it's not in how much you process, but it's more about the quality that you're providing.
Yeah.
And then use some of that wonderful, huge, rich set of software to do that. And I think honestly, with some of the things SightCall does, that could be incredibly beneficial to your company as well.
If anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. And thank you for that. Sobusconsulting.com. They can schedule a half an hour meeting with me. I'm happy to do that. And we'll see, how Sobus Consulting can benefit them. So,
great. I'll put that link in the show notes. And
thank you.
Kathy Sobus, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too.